Hello and welcome to Hey Mando, the show where we talk about the Mandalorian. We are on season 2, episode 7. I am right now tweeting that we're live because I forgot to do that. We're live talking the Mandalorian. All right, and then I think I spelled that right, and then we just paste the link. All right, and then we hit tweet, and you know what? That's how we do it. We do it once the show has already started. Hi, I'm one of your hosts, Shawn, and I'm joined as always by Wade. Hi, Wade.
Dude, what is up, fellas? Oh man, was this some fucking fun? I stayed up till 3 a.m. to watch this shit.
Yeah.
And I wanted to watch it again immediately after I watched it, but I was like, dude, I can't do that. I got to go to bed.
Yeah, man, I was waiting for my kid to leave for school this morning. I was like, come on, just go. If there's ever a reason to go to school, it's so that I can watch Star Wars. That's the only reason.
I love it.
Of course. Hello, Dean.
Really glad to
I'm
be
liking
here.
the shirt.
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason? Did something happen? Did something happen yesterday that I don't?
Yeah. The HBO Max ate some humble pie. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They did. They didn't get slapped around, but they did get slapped across the face. Yesterday. So.
And they managed to flex back hard and also do it in a way that didn't irritate the movie theater experience and piss everyone off. You know,
No.
I was surprised. I would have had it the other way in my head. I would have thought Disney would have been the ones to ruffle the feathers, and turns out that they come in looking pretty good. But we're not here to talk about
crazy announcements.
Star Wars shows.
No.
Yeah. Although some of it might factor in.
Yeah, we might talk a little bit about 2 of those specifically, but we are here to talk about The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 7. This is Chapter 15. It is titled The Believer, written and directed by Rick Famuyiwa. And I liked the episode. I think that this episode had little enough in it that we can do our non-spoilers to start and then get into spoilers after the break. Because there's like one thing in there that I can really think of that's like massive. But I enjoyed the episode. I finished it and I went, oh, we're done. It felt like an episode that should have been earlier in the season. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I was expecting something completely different from this episode. I thought we was going to get some long drawn out prison breakout kind of episode.
Yeah.
And we kind of get done with that in the first couple of minutes, which at first I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, they just walk in there and walk out again. But then a lot of the kind of stuff that I was expecting to see, we still get to see that kind of stuff, but in a different context than expected. But that's later on. Big fan of Rick Famuyiwa. Am I saying that surname correctly? Famuyiwa?
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the movie Dope is one of my all-time favorite movies. That is so good, and I loved his. Did he do 1 episode or 2 episodes last season? I know he did the Jawa episode. I think he did.
Yeah, and he did the prison ship episode.
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense with him giving Bill Burr again.
So 2 of the better episodes I thought of last season, and I was really impressed with the writing and some of the directing. It wasn't as crazy visually as last week, but you know, Robert Rodriguez is a high order. But I thought this episode was really well written. Big fan, Jay.
Oh, dude, I love this episode so much. I'm not going to go as far as saying like, oh, it's my favorite. It's not my favorite, but it was really, really good. There were a lot of things visually, especially, that reminded me, that just put me back in that headspace of the original trilogy, which was really cool. I really, really love how, and not just in this episode, but the episode where he crashed his or the Razor Crest fell into the water, we're seeing the use of Imperial walkers in different ways,
I
other
love
than
that.
for battle and stuff, and that's really
Yes.
cool too.
Yeah, because that was
That
one of
was
my favourite
really,
things in that episode was the Walker crane, and now we get like Walker trash magnet things and
yeah,
whatever they're doing on that prison place.
yeah, and Bill Burr killed it. He just crushed this episode, dude, so hard. There were a lot of little references to other movies and other genres in this too, like within either scenes themselves or moments within scenes.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get to one of those later that I just absolutely loved. And I love where it put me in my mind when it happened too. But yeah, dude, overall, this was just a magnificent episode. Loved it. Dude, Boba Fett is just looking at him, he is a bad motherfucker, dude.
Shining armor.
Yeah, and he did up his
Yes.
armor, cleaned up his armor, which I understand, but I there's that old school nostalgia part of me that's like, man, I think it would have been cooler if he just would have left all those years of wear and tear and scars on it and just rocked it the way it was. But I understand. It's been a long time since he's been away from that armor, dude. What, 5 years or so? 5, 6 years? I think it's
somewhere around there.
He's
Yeah.
these ideas the whole time. Like, what can I do with that suit when I get it back? And he's got a little LCD screen built into the chest plate. I don't know what that's for. Statistics. I don't know, but I'm here for it.
Okay, speaking of the Boba Fett and his suit and everything, uniform, whatever. Where is Mando's little Amy thing?
I think he just doesn't have one.
Well, but I mean, that's my point. Like, why? Like, I don't understand what's going on here.
Not all Mandos have them.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it's like when you've got like
only for the rocket. Or isn't that used for that's used for other stuff too, right? Like just in general surveying, stuff like that. I don't know. But that's always struck me as a little odd. But then again, I mean, not all I can't say not all of them because I can't recall, but the Mandalorians down in the little underground spot with the armor, I don't know. I know at least a couple of them had those little antenna thingies on their helmets, the viewfinder thing, but I can't say that they all did, or I don't know. But I've been wondering that because the helmet looks cool as hell no matter what. But I mean, if you've grown up with Boba Fett and shit, then you always kind of notice it kind of looks like something's missing. But then again, he's not Boba Fett, so
we keep telling you, man.
I think.
We keep telling you.
Well, in my mind, he is, but in reality,
I think for the most part, it seems that the members of Death Watch don't have those because the armor didn't have one, and it looks like the other people in.
Okay, I guess none of them did have any. Then I was wrong.
Yeah, I felt like they're kind of like just more old school, in their beliefs, and that I think that's just reflected in the armor. So less of like the fancy targeting rocket computers.
But they got the whistling birds, and
he's got that.
That's some fucking tech. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I just think
even
of it
their
as like,
helmets have tech inside, like as far as the visor.
Yeah,
like he'll do thermal scans on the ground and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just weird, man. I don't know.
Imagine if he did have that rocket launcher, though. Those Jawas wouldn't have standed a chance. They would have been gone in a second in that episode. Just, you see you taking off there in your big square ship tractor thing. Pop! There you go. Give me my stuff back. So maybe it's just a writing thing. I just think of it as like like in a shooting game or something where you get like your different classes. So some people have got like heavy stuff, some people have got lighter stuff, and he's kind of just got an all-round. I don't know. They look cool.
It's
they
not
function.
Anything, it's
and
not.
They get the job done.
Just I like that thing. It looks cool.
Justice for eyepiece.
Did we lose you, Shawn? No, there you are. You froze for a second.
Yes.
There, you're back now.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm having internet issues. You guys keep talking.
Oh, right on, right on. One thing though, I'm not. It was around this time, kind of, but when they picked up Bill Burr and the Slave One flies off, and we saw how it works, because I've always wondered with that thing how it's positioned all the time. I mean, we've seen how the cockpit is from the prequels.
Prequels, yeah.
But yeah, like the rest of it always just looked really weird. And how would you have passengers in there? And how like that thing spins as the ship moves. This was just awesome, dude. And it was really, and that's one of those little details that if they hadn't put that in there, no one would have missed it or even thought about it. But whoever thought about that was like, dude, that would be really cool. And it was really cool.
Yeah, this show's laden with that stuff. I mean, that's, a lot of the writing is pretty, mission based and that kind of stuff. But it's all of those little details that elevate it as much as it has. And I think that's the stuff that people, because we're not talking about it in terms of like amazing character development, like people with Game of Thrones. But I would say that this episode, we get so much of that character development. I think from Mando, we get a lot out of Mando that we don't get. His last episode was kind of Mando light, really. It was pretty focused on Boba Fett last week, and rightly so. He's waited 30 or 40 years to make his return, but Mando did get a little bit sidelined as far as the action went last week. And do they make up for it this time? He's doing some great stuff. This whole episode is just like classic, like we had, samurai, western, then we kind of had a little dabble of the horror with the spiders and stuff. This one's just a straight out classic action movie, which I loved. It didn't feel like it was, it still felt like it was Star Wars.
Yeah.
It wasn't trying to be too lofty or too, clever. It was just, felt like an 80s sort of like a heist movie, but then buddy cop with Bill Burr in the what's the transport thing that they have. What the materials that they're transporting?
The Rhydonium.
The Rhydonia. Is that a thing we know about from canon, or is that a new, just convenient explosive thing?
I think it's been mentioned before, but I couldn't tell you particularly where. The concept seemed familiar.
Yeah, I felt like it had been used before somewhere or referenced, but man, it's hard. I don't know what's the spoiler. I don't know what point we get to.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'll say is that on the non-spoiler side, I really enjoyed the landscapes we went to in this episode, the two planets that we visit. I enjoyed the locations. I got a very Indiana Jones feel from some of the episode.
Yeah.
And I dug that. I thought that was cool. I liked Bill Burr a lot more in this episode than I did last season.
Oh, dude, some of his dialogue was just amazing. Yeah. But also, a lot of it was like funny stuff, one-liners. But one thing he said that I wrote down here, that it was obviously meant as comic relief, but he made a valid point when he's like, so what's up? Can you not take off your Mando helmet, or can you just not show your face? Like, what's the deal here? And I think that's the point where Mando started, where he's kind of like, you know what? This whole helmet on all the time thing, maybe there's something to what Bo-Katan was saying here.
Yeah, we see a moment earlier on in the episode where he wrestles with that, because when they're planning like how they're going to storm the base or the plant or whatever, and there's a moment where he hesitates, where they say you can't go in there with a Mando suit on, and the kind of camera just lingers on him for a moment. It's like, is he gonna just take it off there and then? And they obviously doesn't. He keeps you waiting to see, is he gonna have to do that? At what point does he justify that, if at all? and Bill Burr just encapsulates that with a lot, like you say, with a lot of his dialogue. I was actually, when it started out, I was a little bit iffy on Bill Burr. Do you guys have that word iffy, or did I just blow your minds? Anyway,
No, you're good.
Iffy is weird. Anyway, Bill Burr's just cracking jokes, and it's just one-liners, and I was like, it just felt very by the books almost. But then it pays off as we get further into the episode, because we kind of see that he's actually, he's opening up, conversation about like the lore of the Mandalorians and the culture and stuff, but also kind of reveals a bit of his own backstory and develops his own character, because we kind of realize that he's deflected a little bit, because he kind of makes some slightly left field decisions throughout the episode, which really rounded him out, and his performance, as the further we get into the episode, he's really going 110%. I loved him in this episode. I was not expecting to enjoy him so much, to the point where I don't want to go too far ahead, but yeah.
His character, the character that he plays, has been humbled a great deal since being captured. Now on this plane, I mean, his demeanor, the way he talks, the way he looks, the way you can tell that like the character has been humbled and is like, you just can tell, dude, that there's been a change in that person. It wasn't one of those, oh, here's my opportunity to get out of this, so I'm going to act like I'm going to play along to, there wasn't any of that. You can tell that he was sincere in helping them. Like, and as far as he knew, he was going to go back, but he was like, screw it. And when he's like, you mean the little green guy? I mean,
he felt that
on it, dude. He knew what was going on, and he knew what that meant. And then, like you said, Dean, we get a little bit later on in his backstory, and you realize he clearly does know the difference between right and wrong.
I'm glad you mentioned the morality, because some of the best Star Wars writing ever is in this episode, where he's talking about it's all the same. I believe something, you believe something. I'm from here, you're from there. There's not really a right or a wrong, and you're kind of sitting there thinking, yeah, well, that's what an ex-imperial probably would say. But then, to kind of really emphasize his point, they then get rescued by the TIE fighters, and obviously the TIE fighters aren't there to help Mando or to save the kid or to do anything. They're just doing what their job is. But because of the perspective of the situation that they're in, it just really reinforces kind of the point that Bill, just going to call him Bill, was making in this episode. And I thought that was really well handled.
And there was a little bit of like a hyped up celebration kick in the music at that point too. And I found that very interesting, because I'm a dark side guy anyway, but in this show, I'm clearly rooting for the Mandalorian. But I found myself, without even thinking about it, but because of the circumstances that they were in and what I had just watched them go through, then that music, the like kind of victorious music kicks in. I found myself like, dude, dude, the stormtroopers, yes, dude, the rescue, man, and it was
seen them in that light at all.
Weird, dude, but they made me go that route, and I was like, wow, dude, that was cool.
I had the exact same reaction where I was like,
he got out of that transport and didn't put his helmet back on, though. Was that weird for you guys? He was the only stormtrooper in there without a
little bit.
I don't know what the rules are back then. We know what they are for the First Order. You don't take it off, but we don't know what it is back then. But you would assume if you're allowed to take it off and be that lax, then at least one person in that area would have had their helmet off too.
Yeah, that was a small thing that I did wonder. There's a couple of things with the internal logic that I found myself questioning a little bit, but it didn't take away at all. And going back to when they get back to the base, and seeing all the stormtroopers just like celebrating with each other, and not because they've blown up a planet or, you know, killed the Jedi hero or something like that, but because, you know, their colleagues, who they presume to be their colleagues, did their job, got back safely, didn't blow up with the minerals, you know, and they just seemed just a real pally atmosphere in that base. It felt like that whole base felt like a rebel base, but it was Imperials. It felt like when Luke's getting back, you know, after the blowing up the Death Star, except it's Imperials protecting their jobs. And I just thought that was a really weird juxtaposition. But it, you know, it's cool. I mean, they're still stormtroopers, so let's not get soft. But it was nice.
Yes, I am keeping up. I'm a couple seconds behind you guys. My internet is having all sorts of issues. But yes, I agree with the, like, I found myself being like, oh, the stormtroopers are here. And then I went, hang on a second. I shouldn't be excited that they showed up, you know?
Yep.
I love that Boba Fett is just like part of the crew. Like he's just around. I love that.
Yeah, like he's just like the pilot. Like they've got like their sniper and their recon team, and obviously Mando and Bill Burr on the front lines. I really love the ensemble feel to this episode. And like I said earlier, like the buddy cop vibe that we get inside of that as well. And I'm going to say something really controversial, and I don't mean because I don't like the character or I want anything bad to happen to the character. And I do appreciate the stakes of what's happening to, or possibly happening with Grogu right now. But man, it was nice to not have him in this episode.
It really was. And you know what? It was weird, but to be completely honest, I had completely forgotten about Baby Gogurt. I completely forgot. I was so into
the little green guy
and what we were watching. I forgot all about that little bastard. I love him. He's so cute, but I forgot about him.
I hadn't completely forgotten, but it was just refreshing to not have the obligatory, we're going to cut to Grogu's face every 5 minutes throughout the episode, you know, even when we don't really need to, just to kind of remind you where he is and that he's there. It was just refreshing to kind of, you know, it was like you're a parent and you got a babysitter, and now we kind of get to go out and have this little adventure by ourselves and not have that element of responsibility, even though the long plan overall is to, you know, uphold that responsibility. But it was, you know, it could have this episode could easily been bogged down with a really somberness, you know, because of what happened last episode. But we didn't get too caught up on that, which I thought would irritate me, because like, oh, you know, they don't even care. But turns out I didn't even care, so it was all right.
Hell yeah!
I'm kidding, I care.
All right, we are going to go to break, and we're gonna go for a bit of a longer break, just because I need to see if I can fix my internet, and contribute. But when we get back, we will talk full spoilers and talk about the back half of the episode.
Yeah. We'll hear a couple promos and then we'll have our graphic on screen. But yeah, we'll be back.
In a sec.
Hi, everyone. This is Sarah, host of Go Get That Rose podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to talking about all things Bachelor Nation. Join Jay Wade, a man in his 40s who is recently new to all things Bachelor Nation, and myself, someone who has been watching passionately for the past 3 years, as we review, share our thoughts on each episode of whatever show is currently on TV, whether that is Bachelor, Bachelorette, or Bachelor in Paradise. We might not even know everyone's name, but we have fun nonetheless. You can find us on Merc with a Movie blog feed wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, Jay Wade here to tell you about SEN After Live, our SEN Live After Show, where we talk about Well, whatever Christian, Brett, and the rest of the crew talk about, and the insanity that ensues. So join us each week here on the Merc with the Movie blog feed on your podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube now on the SCN After Live channel. Talk to you then.
All right. Hopefully this is better.
Here's to be.
I don't think it is because there was still a gap in between what I said and your guys' response. But I'm gonna kind of just say my piece and then I'll let you guys go on about it since I can't really interject
Understandable,
normally.
It happens.
But I think that welcome back, by the way. You guys should watch those shows; they're great. But I think that the entirety, like the best part of the episode for me, was when they were in that break room. It was Mando taking off his helmet. I thought that was just fantastic. They built it. I loved seeing Pedro Pascal. I thought he played the part extremely well. He was so stiff and awkward and weird. When that was on, I loved Bill Burr and his kind of. He's actually not an asshole. I mean, he's an asshole, but not that big of an asshole. And the action sequence was great. Outside of that stuff, this did not feel like a penultimate episode to me. I feel like if you'd stuck this episode earlier in the season, I would have. It's not the episode I have a problem with. It's its placement in the season order. Because I feel like after we just kept, we've been building, and then it felt like we just took a dip before the end. And obviously we're going to go back in for the ending. But that was my main gripe with the episode was I was done with it. And I was like, it's a good episode of a TV show. I don't know if its placement was great.
Fair enough, man. Yeah.
The last two episodes were pretty hectic, though. I mean, we wasn't expecting nearly as much plot and action and various things that as we got. We was expecting last week's to be, I guess, a slow episode. So we get it here, and it's a bit of a sharper turn than we expected. But I love it felt like Inglourious Bastards when they're in the cafeteria.
Oh, you dick! That's what I was going to bring that up. You.
Well, Jay, just so happens that I also have a gun pointed at your ball.
I noticed that at like 3:40 in the morning when I saw it, and I'm like, dude, that's my thing. That's my thing. I'm going to bring to the table tomorrow night. Is going to be like, dude, that scene when they're at the table was like Inglourious Bastards when they're in that bar, and it was awesome. You dick.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Dude,
it's great.
Yeah, awesome. So good.
There was a lot of like war movie kind of tropes going on in this one, but like I say, it didn't feel too locked into one genre. It just felt like a broader action thing with this weird like tense period in the middle there. I will say this though, they're in a cafeteria, right? And really, that's where there's a terminal in the cafeteria with the coordinates to the main boss man's whereabouts, and it's just in the cafeteria where everyone's just drinking. Oh, hey, I'm just gonna get drunk and drunk call the boss. Like.
Hey, Moff Gus, Dark Saber.
I don't care what you do to that kid, man. I still love you.
Bring the kid around. We want to say hi. Where's the kid? Put him on camera. Put him on the camera.
I would love to
throw Jeff.
Baby Gogurt to call him Walt Jr. In like an outtake or something, like a blooper reel. That would be great. Anyway.
Hey Gogurt, throw Jeff.
Yeah, I was well, okay, on my first viewing, for whatever reason, I missed the part where Bill Burr told him that like it has to scan your face to get the info. I missed that. So when he took off his helmet, for me, I was like, I had no setup that was even possibly going to happen. Like, I was like, what the fuck just happened? But then on the second viewing, I was like, oh, okay. And but then it meant even more when I heard him say that, because I was like, okay, dude, he's gonna do this. Like, is he really gonna do this?
And not just in front of Bill Burr, but like there's a whole bunch of people around, and you can he conveys so much just in the expression. You can see that it's not a light decision that's being made. However, it's a little bit contrived, because if you're going to have a face scanner as a means of accessing the computer terminal, surely it would only work for people who work there that already have their face in the system.
I was wondering how such a low-level stormtrooper would be able to gain access like that, dude, to that kind of.
It didn't bother me that much, but it kind of, it kind of did a little bit. It's like, you imagine you work at a nuclear power plant and it's just cafeteria, computer terminal in the corner, and we're just going to let you be able to the janitor can just access the plutonium storage codes or whatever. It just seemed,
as long as we can scan his face and know who he is, then
as long as we can see his face, and then we
don't even need to confirm that he's actually a part of our group or anything like that. Just as long as we have a face, just any old face, it doesn't matter.
As long as you've got a face, you're okay with us. It's the people who haven't got faces that we can't trust here at the Empire.
Yeah. We'll see, because, but anyway, it didn't take away anything for me, but those are all valid things I thought of too.
And if they use face scanners as like a general kind of authentication thing within the Empire, what did Darth Vader do? Well, Darth Vader needs to use the staff bathroom, and it's like,
you have a force swipe, like it was just a pad, and he would just run his hand in front of it, and it would just open whatever he wanted to get into. I don't know.
I think if something tried to stop Vader, I think if something tried to stop Vader, they needed to replace that object in a couple hours.
Yeah,
because I don't think he'd take that. I want to enter the room. Yeah. I'm not taking all my this helmet is like my grandfather's. I'm not taking it. Open the door.
Let me in.
One thing I was kind of disappointed about. I want to throw no Grief Karga. I was like, where's the boy?
I didn't expect him to be on this mission, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't think of it. I mean, he's running things, I guess. I mean, she's like the chief of police, though.
The only ones there to keep things together. They both can't leave.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I guess that's true.
Like, do you think by the time she gets back to that planet, everything's just gone back to shit again? Like, well,
that'd be hilarious.
You had the job for 1 week, Kara, and you abandoned your post, and now we've gone back 10,000 years in progress. I hope you're happy with yourself.
Good job. No spin-off for you.
Kara was in the thumbnail again this week as well, random.
Yeah, she was.
It's like
it looks like she's definitely going to be in that Rangers of the New Republic show.
And again, without getting into that other stuff,
I think I think in my mind they set Bill Burr up to be in that show too. But I was surprised. I thought that they were going to set it up even more by having him go with them and leave and stay with Kara. But Kara, whatever.
Totally surprised that he didn't go with them. I was fully on board with and expecting that to happen. And not only does he not go with them, he doesn't go anywhere. So he's just broken into a facility, stolen data, murdered a bunch of people, and now he's just going to hang out there with his helmet off. Like,
but he's dead. And according to the records now, he died there. So who would go there to look for him being
No,
alive?
I mean the people who are already there, whose base he just blew up. You know,
Oh,
they didn't
they
kill
did kind of make it out
everyone.
as if the base was completely gone, and it was like the whole thing didn't blow up. The main structure was still there when they flew off. But yeah, that is a valid point. Yes.
And even if they did kill every Imperial or Stormtrooper in that base or on that planet, now he's just stuck there with no ship.
He's a resourceful cat. I can buy that as far as like he's proven he's resourceful in my mind, dude. I think he'd be just fine. I think he seemed a little excited to like be stranded.
You know, he's not.
He's like, dude, guys, I can go, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm just going to vacate
nice
on this planet with all these dead bodies that I just murdered. You know, that's fine. I think it's more that I just really hoping, because I really went on the journey with him. Like I say, went from being like annoying, and you know, like is he trying? Are they trying too hard to make him the comic relief, to bringing it full circle when he talks about when he's talking to the officer, and he starts talking about the that battle that he was at, and he's just like, was it for the, you know, who was that for the good of? You know, it's just 10,000 dead people for nothing. You know, they haven't got their freedom, you know, and then just watching him make that turn was really satisfying.
He's definitely going to be in that Cara Dune spinoff, man, because I think his backstory set that up, was another element that set it up. Because then in this Rangers show, you'll have Kara, who's from the Old Republic or whatever it's called. I can't remember at the time, but she's a good guy and went through shit, and all of her people, her planet was destroyed. She lost everyone. You got Bill Burr, who was on the Imperial side. Like 10,000 of his fellow men were all wiped out, and they were all killed. And they both like have this disdain for the Empire. For the same reasons, almost kind of, but they were both from opposites. That to me, that's killer dynamic, man.
Yeah, if that show is like this vibe, I'm down for that, which I think it might be.
So with Rangers of the New Republic, right? So talking about it as without getting into all the Twitter stuff,
right,
purely like for the quality of the show.
Yeah.
I hope that Cara Dune is a secondary character in it, just because I don't think she can lead a show. I think she's good supporting on this show, but every time I see her on screen, she's fine supporting. I don't think she can lead a show.
She had one of the worst line deliveries in this episode.
So I'm hoping. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, the line cliffhanger. When she says something about, I would say you look good in that, but I'd be lying, or something like that. It was just like the corniest action movie goof line ever. But anyway.
Yeah, I hope that she's in it as a recurring character or as a supporting character. Maybe not a recurring character, a supporting character, because I want her to be there. Because I do enjoy the character, but I do not think that she can lead a show on her own. I think Bill Burr actually would be a great lead. He was really good in this episode. I want to touch on the thing he was talking about, Operation Cinder, because that's a reference to the Battlefront 2 campaign.
Oh,
yes, in the Battlefront 2 campaign, you play through Operation Cinder, and that's what causes your character to switch sides from Empire to Rebel. And it's literally these giant, like, space station lasers that they just blast into the ground and blow up cities with.
Wow.
It is horrific.
That's so cool to think that you could have been playing that game and Bill Burr could have been the character running next to you, theoretically, you know? Retroactively.
Yeah, I do think they say that they used it on a different planet than the planet you're on because they used it on a bunch of planets. It wasn't a one and done thing. There was like a dozen planets. They were going to use it on Naboo, but Leia stopped them. But yeah, so I hope she's a recurring character in Rangers of the New Republic, because I do enjoy the character. I don't think she can carry the show on. So I'm hoping we have a bit of a stronger lead.
I'm with you there, but I think it's going to be an ensemble cast.
I think
So,
so.
like, like a West Wing type thing,
Yeah.
where there's going to be a group of people who will equally share the. But I do think Bill Burr is definitely going to.
I don't know if Bill Burr would be the lead. I don't know if I'd see that. I think based on his performance in this, I think he could carry it. I don't know if everyone would feel that way, and I don't know if Bill Burr necessarily wants to commit to being a full-time.
Probably not.
Thing.
Probably not.
Right. I get the feeling that that's not. It's just a fun thing for him to pop in and do. I do think this episode was maybe kind of in a similar way to the Ahsoka episode, was a backdoor pilot for the Rangers show. I could imagine that it would have a very similar vibe, kind of band of brothers going around liberating small towns or bases or blowing up bases, or I don't know who the lead would be if not Kara, or is it Mayfield? Is it Mayfield? I'm terrible with character names. Unless it's Luke, but yeah. So maybe would you introduce a new main character in that show? It just would feel weird because you've already got these established characters that would potentially overshadow any lead they try and set up in that show. Again, we don't know anything really, just broad speculation.
Right now,
I'm interested. I mean, you've got me more interested in it just from this conversation.
Sorry, this delay is killing me. My theory right now, from what they said about Rangers of the New Republic, Ahsoka, and The Mandalorian, is they said that those 3 shows were going to culminate in an event series. I have a feeling that Rangers of the New Republic, I'm wondering if Hera's going to be in it. I think awesome. These shows are becoming the Rebels sequel. I think now that Ahsoka's got her own show, I think Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Rangers of the New Republic, much like Rebels started off as one thing and kind of became the Clone Wars successor later on, I think these shows started as one thing and now they're becoming the Rebels successor. I think the thing they're all leading to is Thrawn. I think all 3 series are going to independently pick up the pieces of what came from Rebels before and then carry them through to the final showdown with Thrawn. That is my theory right now as to what's going to happen. But you think who knows?
You think the Thrawn thread is going to entwine with the Mandalorian throne and that the heir to the Mandalorian? I mean, that's all got to kind of. You would assume that that's kind of the nexus where they would all kind of come in, and maybe Thrawn would try and manipulate. Because his whole thing is studying cultures, right? And what better culture for a bad guy to study than the Mandalorian culture? Sees that there's these different sects and these different, splinter groups, and then he tries to play them off against each other for his own bigger plan, which would probably be set up in the Ahsoka show or across all 3, like you say. I'm down for it. Maybe a more successful version of what Netflix did with the Defenders.
It sounds like what they're doing.
I think so, and I think the setup for the Defenders was fine. It was more just the execution when they got to that. But so something like that, I'm definitely down for.
Oh yeah.
Drawing theories from right now, which we don't know a whole lot. I would think that maybe where this is going to culminate is the Mandalorian part of the show is going to be Din Djarin and like Bo-Katan and maybe even Boba Fett reuniting the Mandalorians to help the New Republic fight Thrawn. I think Ahsoka's going to find Thrawn and Ezra and all that. I think the New Republic show is going to be about the New Republic. And then the Mandalorians we're going to get in this show, and it's all going to come together in one climactic fight.
That would be awesome.
You think that one climactic fight will happen inside of the Mandalorian show, or do you think it'll be like a separate like event miniseries kind of thing, like the Defenders?
From what Kathleen Kennedy said yesterday, I would lean towards it being its own event series. It sounded like it was going to be its own thing, not in any of the shows.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
dude, I'm fucking.
What do they call that? How much do you think they take stuff from the Thrawn trilogy and all of that stuff? Can they work a lot of that stuff in there, do you think?
I think they're probably going to repurpose the Thrawn trilogy. But I think they're going to take the Thrawn parts of it. I don't think we're going to see Luke or any of them. I think all Luke, Leia, Han, all their parts of the Thrawn trilogy, I think are going to be replaced with like Ezra and Ahsoka and the Mandalorian. They're going to kind of take those spots. Again, we're 2 seasons into what seems like we know there's at least 3 seasons of shows coming before this event because we have Rangers of the New Republic, we have Ahsoka, and we have another season of Mando at the least. Who knows how many seasons those other shows will get? Who knows how many more seasons of Mando will get? So this is a ways off, and who knows what's going to develop in the meantime. But where we are at now, that's kind of what I think is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot to mention the best part of this episode.
Yes!
Oh, we got the seismic charge!
That was awesome.
Oh, my God. Sure, it's coming a mile away, but it was so good. You must be losing your mind.
The air. I was so excited.
Hell yeah.
Before we get out of here, the one last little reference that I wanted to point out, it's a tiny thing, but they mentioned the ISB, which is a thing in Rebels, the Imperial Security Bureau, and something that has become more prevalent in the wider Star Wars canon since Rebels. But I just love whenever they reference something from outside. So I heard it's run by an or former ISB stuff, and I was like, oh, I know that word. But yeah, that's all I've got for this episode.
I was trying to work out I was trying to figure out what the letters were standing for in my head. It's like that irritable bowel syndrome. Flip it around. It was fine. Before we wrap up, the very end of this episode, is it weird for him to just kind of call in and telegraph that he's coming with the element of surprise not have been an advantage?
So my first thought when I watched it was that's not Mando. That is somebody else speaking as Mando. And then it clicked. Once he was done, I went, oh shit. He just repeated exactly what Gideon said to him the first time they met back at him. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, that's fucking him. That's fucking him, dude. He literally said the exact same thing that Gideon said when he first landed at the end of last season, and he just shot it back at Gideon. And I was like, okay, so this is fucking great.
For him to go in there and have that kind of, confidence to take a shot like that, you've got to assume that they've already figured out whatever their plan is going to be. They know where he is.
Yes.
So they know what ship he's on. So I guess they can, get the blueprints or whatever. So it's got to be something. He's got to have a really good idea of what they want to do to announce it. We're coming for you.
I think Bo-Katan and her crew are going to be back next week to help them for sure.
I'd love that.
Bill Burr comes back next week. You think he might make?
Not next week.
Or you think we come with Bill Burr for this season? Who comes back next week?
Bo-Katan and her crew comes back for sure. I think that's probably it as far as comes back. I mean, obviously, Kara's going to stay with him. Kara, whatever. She's going to stay with him and see it through. Boba Fett and the other chick. They're going to see it through. I think it'll be Boba
Fennec.
Yes, Boba Fennec, Mandalorian, Dune, and then Bo-Katan and her 2 people in her crew.
Yeah, and Fennec's going to be in Bad Batch as well. That was a fun development.
Yes, we saw her in the Bad Batch trailer.
Awesome.
So I agree that Bo-Katan's going to help eventually. I don't think she's helping next episode. I think it's Boba Fett. I think it's Fennec. I think it's Cara and Mando going in. And I think you're exactly right, Dean. They are confident. Because let's be real, things have gone very well for them so far. They lost the child, but that's really the only loss they've had. Over how long? They keep doing well for the most part. I think they're going in overconfident. I think they're about to get their asses handed to them next episode. And I think they're going to need to call in reinforcements next season. But I don't think Bo-Katan's going to show up
back. They're not getting. I don't think they're ever going to get them back.
You
I
think we're
think
going to get
they're never getting him back, dude.
like an Empire Strikes Back kind of ending to this season, where they're kind of left in disarray?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But
Do
don't
you think Boba Fett makes it out of this season?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No,
There's
I think
no way they bring Boba Fett back and be like he lived from the Sarlacc pit just to kill him off.
I thought that, but the more this episode went on, I was thinking they're kind of like just checking Boba Fett boxes, and they're gonna have to. We're gonna have to raise the stakes somehow, because, like you say, they have pretty. They've been smooth sailing for the most part, apart from the end of last episode, and we've not had nobody's died. Apart from stormtroopers, and who gives a shit about stormtroopers?
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get it.
Yeah.
And Boba Fett would be on the top of that list, I think. Unfortunately, I don't want it.
No matter what happens,
I
still think Mando's going to end up with Slave One. However it happens, whether it's Boba Fett gives it to him or Boba Fett dies and passes it. However it happens, I think Slave One is going to be Mando's new ship.
Yeah, he needs a ship. I think we are going to get an Empire Strikes Back ending next week. But again, Empire Strikes Back ends on an upbeat note. It's the very end of it, but the very end of Empire is them standing there looking at the Rebel fleet back together. Lando and Chewie are off to do their thing. He puts his arm around Leia. Like, it's a bad situation, but there's hope on the horizon. And I think we're going to get the exact same thing at the end of this season. I think I don't think anybody's going to die. If I were writing it, I'd kill somebody. I think somebody should die in this attempt to free Baby Yoda, Baby Gogurt, but I don't really think they're gonna do it. But I think they're not gonna get Baby Gogurt back. I think they're gonna escape just barely with their lives, and then the Jedi that Gogurt contacted is gonna show up, and that's gonna be the hope. Is now we've got a Jedi with us that's gonna help, and we have another shot at getting this right.
Now, do we think that Jedi is going to be Luke, or is it going to be the character from Order 66 game?
I'm hoping it's the character from the game. It could be Luke. I mean, Sebastian Stan's already working with him. I don't think they very sense. Well.
Luke makes sense given the timeline and what Luke's doing.
Yeah.
But then again,
I will say,
it would be really cool if it was the character from Order 66. That dude is a great actor, man. I would love to see him playing that live action.
Here's the thing. Let's assume that you want to tease that character at the end, that whoever comes up to the stone, right, we're going to probably see somebody in a hood, and we're going to want to give some kind of clue as to who it is. If we just see like a human hand coming out of the hood, it's not really much of a cliffhanger. I think the only you see a black hand or a metal hand, then everyone instantly knows, and not just because it's Luke, but just in terms of kind of setting up things in the writing and stuff like that. If we just see a hand and a hood, we're just going to be, I don't know, that's just going to lead to too much speculation for next year, and then we're going to get disappointed.
I think we're going to see a back shot of the person that it is. If it's not Cal, if it's Cal, I think we just see Cameron Monaghan. If it's somebody else, I think we see the back of them, enough to know from like the figure who it is, but not enough that they would have had to actually cast anybody and shoot them. I think that Cal would make the most sense. Also, Cal has a really interesting ability. I don't remember what it's called, but he has an ability where he can touch an object. Yes, he can touch an object, and through the Force, he can see its history.
Wow.
He does it in the game where the bad guy, second sister, throws her lightsaber to him, and he catches it, and it fucking debilitates him because he flashes back to all the horrible things that have been done around this lightsaber, and he's like on the ground in pain. And it's a great, but that might come in handy with Baby Yoda if he can. Maybe use that ability with a person. He might be able to see Baby Yoda's past.
And we get a flashback of the temple and the escape and that stuff.
Yeah, and then you guys will know that I'm right, that he was trained by Palpatine And
maybe we see Hayden Christensen since he's back for Obi-Wan. I hope while they got him, I hope he's in Ahsoka, and I hope he's in whatever they can fit him into. Whatever you can fit that man into in flashbacks, you fit him into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even
Why
just
you
put him
got
in one of those chambers and scan his body, and then we've got Hayden Christensen's body for life, and we can just digitally insert him into everything.
You know how with Stan Lee they just shot like 20 cameos so that they would have them? Just do the same thing with Hayden Christensen while he's on set for Obi-Wan. Just shoot 20 cameos, and we'll put him in wherever we can fit him.
Yep.
But I think for now that's the episode. Highly anticipating next week. It will be the final episode of this season. I don't know if we'll do anything for Bad Batch. I guess that's the next Star Wars show coming up, but we'll have to talk about it. We don't have a date yet, but it'll be sometime next year, and I think that's the only show coming out next year besides Mando at the very end.
Right.
So,
I mean, like beginning of the year, like we got Clone Wars last year. Is it last year or this year?
I am not sure.
Clone Wars was like April, right?
Yeah, it was after the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, so it's like.
But yeah.
Maybe
wait, where can the people? Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say maybe we get like into a pattern of beginning of the year we get the animated series, and then the tail end of the year we get the next live action series. They might have a plan like that, or it might just be random.
That'd be cool. We'll find out.
But yeah, y'all can find me on the Twitter at jwade1134. That is the letter J. WADE1134. You can also find my bio there, has other shows I'm on. And also, while you're at it, please go and subscribe to the JCast Network channel on YouTube.
Do it.
And also follow the JCast Network on Twitter. Got a brand new Schmodown show for those of you who know what the movie trivia Schmodown is. Brand new Schmodown show coming up starting tomorrow called Speaking of Schmodown.
I'm Dean. You get me on Dean Lewis 2099 on Twitter, and all the shows that he just said, apart from the Rose one, because we don't have that show. That's it.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Shawn_AFK. All the podcasts I do are in my bio. And you guys can find this show and others on the Merc with Movie Blog podcast feed, which can be located on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Radio Public, Breaker, and Overcast. You guys can follow Merc with Movie Blog on Twitter at MovieBlogMerc. Next week, Friday, 6:30 p.m., the final episode of Hey Mando Season 2. Be there, or I guess don't. We publish this as a podcast as well. You can listen to it if you want to. I can't force you to be here, but we'd love it if you were. So until next time.